classes for women and men were segregated in universities. On March 23rd was the most horrifying day for me, even though we had been through so much by then. On that day is the biggest setback, I believe, since on March 23rd, girls were forbidden to attend secondary education. Now, that's a right that every little girl should grow up to, and I cannot explain how insane that is to me, because I did live in Afghanistan. I know the situation was grim, but we did have our rights and we had worked to get them. And that setback, we just lost hope after that. On May 3rd, the Taliban seized issuance of driver's license. We aren't allowed to drive anymore. And on May 21st, female anchors who appeared on televisions were forced to cover their faces. Because of course, when you want to appear on television, you don't want people to see your face apparently. All right, and finally on July of 2022, the Taliban shut down something as simple as beauty salons. Now this left hundreds unemployed, people who were breadwinners for their family, who were the main providers, and of course, poverty skyrocketed. Now, despite all of this, despite everything that we have faced, I am proud to say, as an Afghan woman, that my fellow Afghan women have not stood silent. They have tried everything they could. They have been more resilient than anyone could have imagined. And they have showed not only us, but the whole world, that Afghan women are not to be messed with. We are not going down without a fight. But of course, like any resilience in history, ours comes with its prices. Our civil movements have been met with nothing but brutal force from the Taliban. The amount of women activists who have been imprisoned, the amount who have been killed and are not found, or have even been enslaved, are absolutely horrific. These are some of the main changes that have happened in Afghanistan for women in the past 3 years since the Taliban took over. More than 700 days have passed since little girls are not allowed to get secondary education. And Afghanistan, by the way, is the only country that forbids women from getting an education, which is a basic human right to all of us. Hundreds of women who are employed in government roles have, of course, been told to stay home, have lost their jobs. According to journalists, Reporters Without Borders, more than 80% of women who work in the media industry have either been forced to leave or have been compelled to leave, too afraid that they'll be the one to be targeted next. Every day, unfortunately, there are horrific reports of women being tortured, abused, enslaved, or even sold to child marriages, just for wanting basic human rights. And of course, with all of this comes mental health issues. When you're a prisoner, I'm guessing you wouldn't have the best mental space. And with that, suicide rates have skyrocketed. Now, I know that this was a very brief presentation. That's all the time we had, but I hope that this presentation gave you a overview of what a life for an Afghan woman looks like, how horrific it must be for her to put not only herself in danger, but her children and her family, just for wanting the right to be educated, the right to wear colorful clothes. I know my favorite color is pink. If I go back to Afghanistan, I'm not going to be allowed to wear pink. Only color I could wear is baby black. Just simple rights, and So I hope that this gives you just an overview. I hope you can put yourself in their shoes and see what they must feel like. And with that, I hope that every one of us today will stand in solidarity with all Afghan women, with the women who are fighting back home, who are looking death straight in the eye and daring them to, oh, come and take what's mine. And we're gonna need every voice that we can get, because I don't believe in becoming the voice of the Afghan women. I believe they have their own voices. They just might be struggling to raise them. And what we can do is try and amplify that. Thank you. Okay, so what I'm gonna do today is try and give you guys a general presentation on what the lives of every Afghan woman looks like right now. So I know that my family, not only my family, but every person in Afghanistan has been facing this situation for decades now. But to me, the horror started in August 15th of 2021. That's when, by then, the US troops were withdrawn from Afghanistan, despite their promises of support in our fight against the Taliban. Our President Ashraf Ghani, fled the country with millions of dollars that he stole from the Afghan public, while making sure that all military forces were told to surrender to the Taliban, ensuring the Taliban's victory. Similarly, other corrupt politicians fled the country, leaving the Afghan people more vulnerable than ever. This is a general timeline of all the restrictions that have been put in place since the Taliban took over, that basically strips women of their basic human rights. Exactly 20 days after the Taliban takeover, the Taliban opened fire on women protesters in Afghanistan. Now, we knew that this was going to happen. We knew that the Taliban hadn't changed, despite the world trying to believe that, oh, they had. But the women in Afghanistan kept fighting, and that was the result of their fight. 2 days after, the Taliban announced that women are not going to be a part of the cabinet anymore. They're not going to have a say in what the government does anymore. A day after, the Taliban announced that they didn't see the point in women doing sports, as if they aren't physical human beings. On September 17th, the Ministry of Women Affairs that was put in place to ensure that every Afghan girl, every little girl, gets the respect and the rights that she deserves, was replaced by the Ministry of Vice and Virtue. Now, historically, we as Afghans know that this ministry was put in place to degrade women in every way possible and to make sure that they do not have a voice anymore. On the same day, media outlets, free media outlets across Afghanistan were shut down. Media outlets that our people, my dad personally had worked for 20 years of his career, so we can have something as simple as free media. That might not look so much for you guys, but that was our hard-earned opportunities. On September 19th, 2 days after, every government official that was a woman, every woman held position, they were told to stay home. They didn't need them anymore. At the start of 2022, all women were ordered to wear mandatory hijab. This restricted what they could wear, even what color they could wear, or what perfume they can or cannot use.